charge that has no earthly idea of what they're in charge of.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem.
That seems to be clear right now.
All right, we're at 5:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We can stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the roll call.
Yoder,
Here.
Noonan,
Here.
Black,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Brush,
Here.
Fenlon,
Here.
Lautner, absent. McDonald, absent prior notice. Miller,
Here.
Nixon,
Here.
and Creepy.
Here.
Excellent. You have a great forum. In front of us, we have the agenda. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support that.
All right, motion made by Mr. Noonan, supported by Mr. Nixon to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next up, we have conflict of interest. Do we have any members here that have a conflict with items on the agenda here tonight? Not. Move on to public comment. All right, staff comments.
We have a hazardous waste collection coming up Monday, September 23rd, for Shabby Town. And also the Michigan Planning Conference is coming up in September in Grand Rapids. If anybody's interested in that, let me know.
All right, yeah, I believe if anybody wants to go to that, just let staff know and they'll pay the way or out of the budget, I believe, so. It's best to start in that sense. Any questions for staff? All right, next up, we have our July 23rd meeting minutes in front of us. Hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. Take a motion.
I move that we approve the Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 minutes as presented.
Support. Motion made by Nixon, supported by Mr. Noonan to approve the July 23rd meeting minutes as presented. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, we have no old business, new business. Item number 1, we have the Centerville Township text amendment with multiple articles and sections for everybody to have a chance to review that. I'll let the staff, wasn't much of a report, but I'll just let them kind of lay out kind of what there was, and then I'll go on to comments from commissioners.
Received this request on August 7th, and the last day to review is September 6th, the 30-day review period. The requested action is to review and comment on the proposed text amendment to Centerville Township zoning ordinance. The Leelanau general plan does not specifically address this amendment. The township held a public hearing on June 3rd, at which time they received quite a few comments from the public. Section 4, the analysis is a proposed text compatible with other languages in the zoning ordinance. Yes. We did not see any issues with the proposed wording, confusing text. Did not find any issues of greater than local concern. Moving on to the staff comment. Centerville Township has been working on amending the zoning ordinance for several months. Township minutes indicate they are working under a moratorium applicable to all applications for site plan review and have requested a review of just the following sections. And are listed below. And the final staff notice that the township will need to submit the entire draft zoning ordinance on this.
All right, that it. All right, next up, we'll go on to comments. Commissioners here, and and I guess you're here for questions. Maybe?
I'm Lindy Kellogg. I'm the chairperson for Centerville Township Planning Commission, so I'm here to help answer any questions you might have about our updates.
Appreciate you being here. All right, let's start with Mr. Brush. Do you have anything, any comments you have to make?
Yeah, it's not about the wording per se as it is about the limitations that it imposes. And I'm not sure if that was your intent or not, probably so by some of the comments that I read. Limiting certain agricultural things, you expanded it in some ways or clarified, but then also limiting it in other ways, and then likewise with the lake frontage and usage. If I had a lakefront place, I would have, you know, not only a fishing boat, but maybe a pontoon and a sailboat or something. And, you know, I kind of hate to see getting into, well, do you have 99 feet or 100 feet? And then can you have this or that? And seems like a lot of limitations that are being put on there. That was more my concern than any kind of wording that came about through it. So, that's it for me.
Mr. Creaky?
Okay.
Dunlap?
I'm not extremely familiar with waterfront zoning rules or wording. I would somewhat echo just that, again, and this may show my ignorance of those types of, I would just be curious, like what other townships do, or, you know, like what does Suttons Bay do, for example, and how do they enforce that? And, I don't necessarily have issue with it. I mean, it seems somewhat sensible to have rules, because otherwise you could have 10 boats or something. I don't know, that seems maybe excessive, but I'm just not familiar enough to really suggest one direction or another. I just think that I would be careful to, you know, and if most of the constituents are not complaining about the zoning regulation, then maybe there's not an issue. But the one thing I did want to clarify has to do with the farm, the basically small campgrounds. They're calling them something else in here.
Glenn.
No, it's like a,
Section that you're looking
yeah, I'm looking at, it's page 69 in the Centerville Township zoning whole document.
Okay.
And it's directly related to having tent and camper 4 and 6. I think all that looks great, at least what I was reading, which seems to be a finalized version. I think it looks pretty good. My only concern was if it's clear that there would be bathrooms. And I do see that at the end of the additional requirements under section 3.21.5, it's the last one on the page. It does say that Benzie Leelanau District Health Department has reviewed and approved plans for food preparation, bathroom facilities, and sanitation. I know, just personally, I know a lot of these newer campers, if they're not big, and even some that are, I would consider fairly large, don't have bathrooms, which is odd, and I wouldn't suggest to have one. I think that's, but it's definitely, I think, something that needs to be in there. I think the old one specifically stated that the person would have potable water and a rest, and I mean, it could be a porta potty, let's be honest, but there has to be some available, and of course, as if there's tent camping available. And so that was my only concern, is that I didn't see it like very clearly stated, and I'm also not familiar with if you know, Benzie and Leelanau requires that already, but just to make sure that people are having adequate facilities, and yeah,
Definitely.
that's really my only comment.
Thank you. And we did talk extensively about this issue as well. And this is in the ag related enterprises.
Linda, if you mind getting up here so
Oh, sure.
staff can pick up the sound for the minutes and
Yeah.
stuff.
This is in reference to section 3.21 in the ag-related enterprises category of the ordinance. And we examined this extensively, and this is more of a value added component of a farming operation. So when you have a full-on campground, it would be regulated by Eagle and meeting all of those standards. So we did talk extensively about having those facilities, what's the appropriate number of allowable people and or camp spaces, and also having those camping units be self-contained in some cases. So we did talk about requiring those. We had feedback from local folks who want to have these value added opportunities for enhancing their revenue on their farms, but also not having to be regulated to have all of these services per se that you would get at a regulated campground through Eagle. So the feedback that we had was not so much regulation. So in some of those cases, we tapered off of that and allowing them, the farmer, to really decide how they wanted to operate a component of camping on their, that glamping, camping type activity on their land.
Yeah, I have nothing further.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Miller?
Looking through this, seems in a number of places where you're referencing things that belong to the building department rather than to the zoning. That they regulate foot distance on the buildings and such. And I didn't understand why the zoning ordinance would get involved in that, since it's not up to you.
Could you be more specific, and I could respond to that? And is there a specific section or an example you could provide?
I have to get my computer out. I'm sorry, I don't have it. Which is, and you reference, in other places, you're referencing MSDS sheets. Zoning. So I find it difficult to understand why you're venturing into another authority's territory. That the zoning official shouldn't be getting involved in MSDS sheets and involved in fire. It's not keep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Nixon?
Yes, I would first would compliment your township over how thorough and comprehensive that zoning ordinance is.
Thank you.
I think it certainly addresses the needs of the township, but I was a little overwhelmed as an individual following, particularly through your site plan. Very clear, but it might be a bit imposing for the ordinary person to feel comfortable with all the preparations that are required.
Sure.
Secondly, I went through your definitions, because I'm a definition kind of guy. And I think I can save you some pages. If you go through those, and I could go through every one of them, but it's a long list. You want to remove words like "this means," because the definition already speaks for that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you might have under excavating, the definition of excavating, the next two words are excavating means. Take those out. Just leave it as the definition. Every one of your definitions are really quite profoundly clear, as long as you remove those. So I've probably found a dozen to 14 things like that. And so you might go through and edit to be sure you get rid of the word means or it could mean or something like that. I was struck by your noise definition. It's pretty broad, pretty vague. It's whatever somebody feels is disruptive to them. I don't know how legally defendable that is. I know what you're getting at. I know in Sutton Bay, we wrestled with that for years and have tried to even get into the decibels, which get really kind of crazy. So I appreciate your efforts, but I think the definition you've got now is not thorough enough.
Okay, thank you.
Again, lots of places where shall mean or mean can be taken out of those. We addressed the campsite. I had a concern also with the restroom facility, but I think you've addressed that. I would suggest on page 80, section 9.1, point B, you might consider, because you have a whole list of special uses. But it's sometimes hard.
Repeat the page number.
That was page 80,
Thank you.
section 9.1, subsection B. You've got a list of 12 different special uses.
Mhm.
And because it's a challenge to capture all the uses, you might want to put one of those catch-it-all kind of phrases in there, or any other special uses approved by the township. That would help permit you to expand if you need to. I wondered also on page 90, item number 10, it's asking that you have a drawn plan.
Mhm.
I don't remember the wording, and I'm wondering if you would accept hand-drawn, or if there needs to be some clarity that you want a architecturally drawn, or what kind of drawn picture.
Okay.
In our history, we've seen both, and sometimes planning commissions are acceptable of residents doing their own. And the last comment I'd make was on page 97, number 9. Again, the challenge of being sure that when somebody comes and gets approved for a plan, that they're given ample time to construct what they've come to you for approval for. And given they've gotten the approval, I would ask you to revisit in 1 year, if that's really sufficient enough time. Given today's marketplace, I think that may be too short. I know you do say they can come back to you in a year and appeal and have another year granted if it's successful. I'm saying, why impose that on a resident? Perhaps it would be wiser just to say 2 years, and then the party can return for their own appeal after that. And again, I would just add that I thought the site plan procedures were very thorough, very complete, a little imposing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Noonan,
Nothing further.
Mr. Black,
All I would have to say is to compliment Centerville Township. We've dealt with other issues, like their master plan and things like that. And Centerville has done a wonderful job, and I think this is an excellent example of what you've done. Yes, there are some areas to improve upon, but the comments by people living there, that's what I'm looking at, and I was impressed that most of them are thankful and appreciative of all the work that your planning commission has done. And that kind of tells me that they like what they're seeing. Yes, there's a few that don't like it because it's may step on their toes or something like that. And I don't have enough knowledge about the agricultural aspect. You really made a lot of comments as far as agriculture. And I think you've done an excellent job.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown. I will too say your ordinance is very in-depth and very thorough. I will got a couple notes I just want to point out, I guess. I don't know, are they errors or maybe just plain oversight? Page 68.
What's the section number?
Section 3.21. Point 2 under B, 2 under campsites there, you have one, looks like less is crossed out. I don't know, that might just be you got 4 or fewer, less campsites, less is crossed out. I don't know if that's just an oversight or what that was. And then the same thing was on page 90. Page 90, under 14. It should be section 13.1.
Thank you.
14 there on the second line there, you have traffic. This is just another minor. Didn't know if that was just a plain oversight or maybe that was intended to be taken out, but just wasn't yet. Then the other one was page 122. Should be 17.3. On third line, there's just another one that's crossed out, and then page 125, the 18.4. Looked like there was something incomplete, looks like there was something supposed to be filled in that wasn't yet. If I can find that row, yeah, 18.4. This looks like there's in parentheses, it says insert the date of passage of the ordinance. So I don't know if that was just something that needs to be put in there, and then the same thing on page 130, which looks like there's two different ones there. Page 130 as well. Section. I should have wrote down the sections. I gotta go all the way up. But yeah, on page 130, it's just the same thing. There's some missing data there.
Okay.
So just maybe input that in.
Yeah, insert date of amendment adoption.
So.
Yeah.
Which that might have been something that.
And that'll be a
after,
future date.
Right, so it just, but yeah, it's just might have been, yeah, something you can add in, but other than that, like, very thorough, kind of like what Mr. Nixon said, the site plan review application, and what the applicant brings was very thorough, almost too much for me to even comprehend, so took a lot of reading just to get through it. I would say it's very easy to understand in that sense, but it obviously could be condensed down a little bit,
Sure.
just pretty easy reading and stuff. But
Thank
I
you.
have to applaud you just on the thoroughness of everything.
Yeah.
So.
We worked with a planner, a professional planner to help us through this process. As a, citizen-based planning commission, I don't think that we would have gotten where we were in a short 8 months by having, 2 and 3 meetings a month. So I appreciate your comments and your feedback very much.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, go ahead.
let me ask you a question. How do you assess your community's input margin? Are they of a caliber that you're getting plenty of feedback from folks that you feel very comfortable with the language you've got? Are you having to search for responses? How do you assess that?
I feel like it's been really positive experience. A lot of citizens from across the township from many aspects, farmers, part-time residents. We've had a lot of feedback even from people that don't live in the township, that are lake residents, people associated with Leelanau Lake Association, people just from the greater Leelanau community coming in and sharing their expertise, lawyers, former planners, people from ADA organizations that all live in our community or our greater community, really offering a lot of feedback and working with us through this process. So I feel like it's really been positive, and we've had a lot of great feedback, not just from only farmers or only, seasonal residents or that type of thing. I feel like it's really been a good representation of people in our community.
That's a real compliment to your community, to your planning commission.
Thank you.
Any other further questions, comments?
I guess I have another one. The parcel owner or farm manager must reside on the property. I don't know about the particular situations down there, but like our farms, for instance, that are down by South Haven, I mean, we've got multiple parcels sectioned off everywhere. Even though we might own everything around it, if that particular parcel doesn't even have a house on it, if they're a true farming operation. So things like that, try to steer away from, I guess. I mean, you kind of understand what I'm saying there.
I do, and I think this relates directly to the camping piece. And in that sense, we really wanted some oversight by the landowner or land manager if they were going to be having people, paying to camp on their property. That would not apply necessarily to something like a farm stand or another value-added agricultural enterprise in that sense. It would just be where there would be glamping or camping or some type of overnight accommodations in that sense.
Did you have anybody that you worked with that is currently in the agritourism business in your township?
Do you mean on the planning commission or as more of a?
Or put feedback into this, someone that's doing agritourism?
Yeah, we have had many people, farm stand owners, farmers, other landowners where they don't live in the township, but own land and are looking to have operations. So we've had a variety of feedback from landowners in that sense, yes.
Thank you.
Any other final closing questions or comments? All right, if not, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion to, actually just approve this, I guess, but also with the changes that we've suggested, mostly corrections. I appreciate Commissioner Nixon's, just attention to detail, so I think it would be wise to shore up those things. So I'll make a motion with our notes, to suggest an approval of this. Changes to your zoning ordinance.
And support it.
And obviously that motion also includes forwarding everything on to Centerville Township as well.
Yes, all of our comments,
Yeah.
staffing.
All right. All right, motion made by Mr. Fenlon, supported by Mr. Black. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Linda. Appreciate you coming.
Yep, thanks. We'll be back with the full version with the changes.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
Hopefully not too much more changes.
I feel the same way.
All right, next up, we are under reports, Housing Action Committee. Do we have anything on that sense?
We didn't meet.
Didn't no meeting on that? All right, anything on Parks and Rec?
I don't have anything to report. I missed last month's or this month's meeting. We did not meet in July. I missed this month's. I know we're still working through getting our plan updated. And other than that,
Next up, we have communications.
I did put a little flyer here. It's a Housing North. We're having a meeting in happy hour. One in Traverse City and one in Cadillac. Everybody's interested.
When is that one coming up in Housing North? Local?
There's in Traverse City on September 3rd. Yeah. Just email, I'll find out.
RSP for it, then we'll leave the location. All right, no public comments, any further staff comments?
I guess more Housing North information. The Housing Summit, that is coming up October 24th and 25th. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. At the Equity Center this year. And also Thursday morning, Housing North is gonna have a little. We're having a presentation by Ryan Kilpatrick downstairs in the community meeting room, starting at 9:30 on Thursday. Is their housing ready support person?
Was that free to attend?
Yeah.
Questions for staff?
Is this all part of like the Housing Action Committee? This Housing North, I mean, are they tied together or just the word housing is the only thing it got
Yeah.
separate? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I believe Housing North is its own entity. It's pretty much based out of Traverse City, I believe, but it covers Leelanau, Benzie, Grand Traverse, the whole region pretty much, so.
They have a lot of good seminars. I went the last 2 years. I'd probably like to go this year. I gotta see if I want a contract. I'd like to do that.
Did you say what their topic was?
No, I was trying to read it. It says, to meet this housing ready support person that says, we'd love your input on ways we can collaborate to support the housing needs of Leelanau County through zoning reform and other tools.
Any other questions for staff?
When's that training coming up again?
October.
It's in October this year?
Correct.
The housing summit?
No,
No, the
No,
one,
our.
one that we have here.
Oh,
The annual.
yeah, that's October 9th. It's our annual planning session.
That's firm then. What time would that be at?
6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Mary Riley. She said we just had to pay her mileage, which is about $200. She can remember correctly.
And you probably have a circular going out to all the townships and the planning commissions.
Yeah, we'll put it together.
Great.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, not, we got any final comments, anybody? Any other updates? Mr. Brown, you got an update on the road commission at all, or?
Basically, right now, we're kind of into wind down mode. We're hitting some culverts for our next upcoming project for next year along County Road 626 up north. That's going to be completely reconstructed, 4 miles. And right now, we're replacing about 8 culverts along those stretches. Right? And doing some shoulder peeling.
Awesome.
Current road looks good. Thank you. Not huge on chip and tar, but it works, you know. Got a decent road now, so.
I love it. It's my favorite.
All right, any other comments? Not. Let's do a record adjournment here, so, all right, appreciate everybody coming out for the short meeting and getting busy.